There have been a few big fat lies in the last 18 months. 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Remember that one? Or what about at the start of the pandemic, in March 2020, when government ministers spoke about being concerned around the economic cost of shutting the economy down for 3 whole weeks? 3 weeks was a worry at that time. And yet, here we are, 18 months later, after 3 national lockdowns, and with the government signing itself another 6-month blank cheque to lock us down once again and inflict further damage. To potentially close schools again, close businesses again, close the NHS again, and to wreck lives once again. Notwithstanding the damage to public health, the economy, to businesses and to livelihoods, one question that's never been asked in the course of this pandemic is why it's okay to wreck lives. Is human damage ever justified, particularly for a disease which is non-fatal to almost everyone? So 3 weeks to flatten the curve was a big whopper, but there are many more examples. Data, not dates, another classic. When cases were falling, we stayed locked down. So in the end, the opposite was true. It was dates, not data, or more accurately, it was politics, not data. Perhaps the biggest lie of them all is follow the science, because there's no one science to follow. The science is not settled on whether lockdowns have the desired effect. The science is not definitive around masks. And the science is not united around the idea that the vaccines are a silver bullet that will fix everything. We have followed the science of junk modelling, which predicted 500,000 deaths at the start of the pandemic. Doomsday modelling has shaped this ruinous COVID policy, and so much of what was predicted never came to pass. We followed the science on the 10 p.m. curfew for pubs. Do you remember that? Early in the pandemic, sending people home from the pub at this random hour, supposedly because COVID comes out late in the evening. Bit of a night owl, that COVID. Enjoys a lock-in. We were following the science with the 10 p.m. curfew, except there was no science to back up that policy. There is no definitive science to back up the effectiveness of face coverings on kids in the classroom or even on school closures themselves. But debatable science we followed anyway. And today, when there is a clear message from the JCVI that vaccinating to 12 to 15-year-olds is not worth the risk, this is the moment at which the government, doubtless pressured by teaching unions and jab-happy interest groups, have in broad daylight decided to ignore the science. They've been warned against it by the organisation whose job it is to advise on vaccines, but they're going to vaccinate anyway, which means that the term follow the science is now the biggest political lie since George Bush Sr. said, read my lips, no new taxes. After this, don't ever let the government use the word science as a fig leaf for their failed policies. And don't let the scientists who got this wrong do the same. With this decision, the government, which we're told loves to follow the science, has now unfollowed the science, seemingly because it didn't take them where they wanted to go. Read my lips, no jabs for kids.